Imagine having one platform that lets you create stunning images, generate videos, design characters, and tap into dozens of AI models. Instead of 5 or 6 separate tools, you now get everything in a single subscription. That's the big promise of OpenArt, to replace all the different AI apps with one simple platform. But the question is, does it actually deliver on that? Most all-in-one platforms sound amazing on paper, but when you actually use them, they're clunky, limited, and end up pushing you back to the individual tools anyway. So I spent the last few months testing OpenArt across everything from real projects, putting it up against the same tasks I usually spread across multiple platforms to see whether or not it is actually worth using. And what I found out will surprise you. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I found, show you the features that matter most, and help you decide if OpenArt is the right platform for you. Now, if you want to follow along, there's a link in the description below that you can use to open up OpenArt. So with that being said, let's get started. When you sign into OpenArt, this is the home page. You'll be met with a lot of things happening on the screen, but what we want to do first is access a feature that I personally use most often when I'm inside OpenArt, and that is the video creation on the left-hand side here. When you click on the video icon, you'll see that this opens up a workflow that is solely dedicated to working with videos. You have text to video, image to video, element to video, and then audio features, as well as video upscaling and lip sync. We will start off with text to video, so I click on text right here. So in the model selection, you can access it simply by clicking this button right here. And as you can see, this gives us a lot of different models to work with. I mean, you really do have everything you could possibly need. You have highly professional, realistic models like VEO3, you have cheaper, faster options like Kling, you have some of the best performing models like sedans, and many more. So let's make a video. For this test, I'm going to be using probably the most desirable video model out there, which is Google VEO3. Once I select this model, you'll see that there are different settings you can adjust. And this part is important to understand. Each model has its own settings that are separate and unique. For example, with Google VEO3, you can toggle audio on or off, pick your video mode, and set your resolution. Now I'm going to paste in my prompt. And one of the coolest features inside OpenArt is the Auto Enhance button. What this does is it automatically enhances your prompts. So instead of constantly refining the wording of your input, the AI takes care of it for you, and that ensures you consistently get stronger results. I really like this because I used to spend ages tweaking prompts just to get decent results. With Auto Enhance, I can just drop in my idea, and it handles the prompting for me, which saves me time and helps me get high quality videos even if my prompt writing isn't perfect. Now let's go ahead and click create and take a look at the video, and the results came out stunning. Honestly, the model is simply excellent at what it's designed to do. Now let's check out another feature I find really exciting, and that is the image to video feature. For this one, I'm going to pick another model. Let's go with Kling. I'll upload a photo of this statue right here, and then for the prompt, I'll use one that I've already prepared. Now with Kling, you actually get a couple of additional settings to play with. For example, you can select quality mode. I generally recommend going with the highest one, because of course, that gives you the best output. You can also set the duration of the video. For this test, I'll go with 5 seconds. So I click create, and as you can see, the results are just as stunning as with Google VEO3. But you can also immediately notice the difference in style between the two models. And this is something I use to my advantage. If I want something cinematic and realistic, I'll lean on VEO3. But when I want brighter, more energetic clips for social content, Kling's vibrancy is perfect. Now, one really cool thing you can do with videos generated by OpenArt is you can upscale them. Here's how it works. Once your video is generated, you simply click on it. Then, inside the upscale section, you'll see an option called Video Upscale. Once you click that, a new window will open where you can select the resolution all the way up to 4K. The refresh rate can be set as high as 120 frames per second. This is an incredibly useful feature, especially if you plan on taking these AI-generated assets and actually using them in your content. I use this all the time because I don't just want test outputs. I need videos polished enough to drop straight into my projects. Being able to upscale to 4K at 120 FPS makes it usable at a professional level. Now, you can also play around with the element to video feature. This one allows you to drag and drop up to 7 different images, and OpenArt will animate them into a video. To be completely transparent here, I personally don't use this feature that often, but I can clearly see the potential use cases. For example, you could use it to create very creative animated sequences from static images. So for creators who like experimenting visually, this can be a really powerful tool. And finally, you have audio features. This section is generally used as a kind of helper feature to add audio to some of your generated videos. It also includes lip sync, which allows you to upload a file of yourself or someone else speaking, and OpenArt will automatically sync the lip movements of your generated character to that voice file. This is an excellent feature for bringing videos to life. making them more realistic, or transforming dialogue into generated visuals. One feature I use just as much as video generation is image generation. So let's take a look at that next. So to access it, you don't really need to go far. On the left hand side, you just want to click on image, and as you can see, this opens up a whole new workflow again. Now here the most important thing is your model selector. If you click on the switch button right here, you're instantly introduced to tons of other models, probably some of which you already recognize. One of the coolest ones right now is Nano Banana, which produces insane results. But speaking from experience, one of the most realistic models available right now is Juggernaut. And here's what I really like about OpenArt. Switching models is super easy. Normally, you'd have to sign into a separate website or even download another tool just to try something different. But here, everything's in one place. You can move from one model to another with just a click. So I'm going to click on Juggernaut, then for the prompt, I'm going to use this one right here. And I also don't want to forget to turn on Auto Enhance, because it will automatically refine and polish my prompt before generating the image. Now when it comes to the settings, just like with video, they are separate for each and every model. For Juggernaut specifically, you have things like prompt adherence, which controls how strictly the AI follows your prompt, and then you can also select the aspect ratio, along with various other settings. So for the aspect ratio, let's go with something like a landscape. And before clicking create, there's something else important to point out. When generating images, you can decide how many to create instantly. Of course, this will cost more credits if you're generating more images at once, but it also provides a wider selection of references, which is super valuable. So I hit create, and let's take a look at the result. As you can see, the results came out scarily real. I mean, they look incredible. Everything looks incredibly realistic, with colors that really pop off the screen. Now, if you're not happy with a certain image, OpenArt actually allows you to edit them. You can do this very easily by clicking on this section right here, which opens up yet another workflow seamlessly integrated right into OpenArt. When it comes to editing, there are a couple of features I personally like to use the most. So besides the normal editing options like cropping or adding text, you can also use a tool called InPaint. This allows you to add or change specific things inside your image. For example, let's say in the background here, I want to add a flower. All I need to do is select the area where I want the flower to appear, and then in the prompt, I simply type a flower pot. Then I can select my model. Usually I'll go with the premium options. You can adjust prompt adherence, but in most cases, that's not crucial. So I just click create, and then the AI starts working. And as you can see, the result came out looking very good. The next feature I like using is the remove tool. This allows you to remove unwanted objects from your image. For example, suppose I decide to remove the flower pot from the background. All I have to do is highlight the object I want to remove and select magic erase. The AI takes a few extra seconds compared to the quick erase, but during that time it's analyzing the background and filling everything in more precisely. Once it's done, you can see how seamless it looks, almost no trace of the object at all. Now, another great feature worth highlighting is the face tool. This lets you actively change the expressions on your characters. So let's say I'm not happy with how a character's expression came out. I can just swap it to whatever I want. I use this a lot whenever generated faces don't look exactly the way I envisioned them, and it saves me a ton of time. This has probably saved me more headaches than any other tool in here. Before I used to waste hours regenerating images just because a face looked off. Now, I can fix it in seconds. For example, here I'll change my character's expression to a wink. In the presets, I just choose wink, and after a few seconds of processing, the expression smoothly changes into a natural looking wink. Now, if I want the same character to look away, I just repeat the process. Select the looking away preset, and once it's done, the character shifts into a convincing side glance. Now, coming back to image generation, creation doesn't stop with just typing prompts. A lot of the models in OpenArt work best when combined with reference images in your prompts. For example, let's go back to Nano Banana. I'll select this model, and for my reference, I'm going to use a photo I found online of a candy shop's interior. Then for the prompt, I'll write something like, fill the entire shop in the image with slime. Then I click create, and as you can see, the images come out looking really fun and unique. Now, just like with videos, you can also upscale images. You do this by clicking here, which opens up a new workflow where you can upscale your images to whatever resolution you want. But sometimes you need way more consistency than just your usual images, where you can simply save your prompts and reuse them later. Sometimes what you really want is for your character, the one you're generating inside your images, to stay exactly the same across every single image. And that brings us to the next feature, characters. Now, when you click character, this opens up a brand new workflow. And as you can see, you can actually create your characters in 3 different ways. You can either start with a description, start with 1 image, or start with 4+ images. In most cases, I recommend going with the 4+ images option if you have access to 4 or more images, because it gives you the best accuracy and consistency. But if you only have 1 image, or if you want to start from just a description, that can still work perfectly fine. It just depends on how strict and consistent you need the character to be. But for for this example, I will start with only one. So I click that, and then I'll be prompted to give my character a name and either upload that image or type out a short description. After a couple of minutes, the character is generated, and now we can enter a new workflow. So first, here you have your prompt and reference section. This is where you actually start prompting your character into new images. These can be simple, casual prompts, or more complex creations. For example, with my character here, I'll just use a casual one. I'll write, make Jen stand beside Niagara Falls. Now in this section, you can also adjust the character weight, which essentially controls how much of the character's key features are preserved between images. You also have prompt adherence, which controls how strictly the AI will stick to your written prompt. For both of those, I will keep them somewhere around the middle. That tends to give a good balance between consistency and creativity. You can also select the aspect ratio and choose how many images you want generated at once. So I'll go ahead and click create, and let's see what we get. And as you can see, the character stays very consistent even though the environment has completely changed. I really like this feature because it gives me consistency across different projects. I don't have to worry about characters looking different every time. I can actually build ongoing storylines with this same look. But what if you want your character to appear in a specific pose? That's where the pose reference feature becomes incredibly useful. When I open it up, you'll see it launches a full 3D render tool. Here you can freely edit your character's position, adjust their stance, and basically put them into any pose you want. I mostly rely on the templates. They save time, and in most cases, they do the job perfectly. So for this example, I'll select one of the female bodies, and then for the template, I'll go with arms down number 1. One important thing to keep in mind is that the AI places your character according to the perspective you're currently looking at in the render. That means you need to pay attention to your camera angle. So for this one, since I want a straightforward shot, I'll move the camera directly in front of the character. Then I'll update the pose and click create. And as you can see, it's the same character in the same scene, but now with a completely different pose. This adds so much more variety and immersiveness while still keeping your character perfectly consistent. And finally, one of the newest features added to OpenArt is the audio section. Now this is different from the audio option I showed you earlier inside the video workflow. This is an entirely distinct audio section where you can actually create voiceovers for whatever you like. It runs the 11 Labs model in the background, so it's very good quality. So here's how it works. You can type in whatever line of text you want. For example, I'll just type in this sentence right here, and then underneath that, you can choose the voice that will speak your line. There are plenty of voices to choose from, and if you want to narrow them down, you can filter by accent, gender, age, or even by use case, which makes it easy to quickly find something that fits the style you need. For now, I'll just select this particular voice for my generation. Now, beyond choosing a voice, you can also adjust some important settings. The first is stability. This setting controls how much randomness there is between generations. If you set a lower value, you'll get less stability but more variation. If you set a higher value, you'll get a more stable and consistent result. Personally, I like to keep mine around 0.6. It's a good balance between natural variation and reliable output. And then you also have speed, which is simply how fast the line will be spoken. I usually keep mine around 1 since that sounds the most natural to me. Once you've adjusted those settings, you just click create. And now let's take a listen.
Hello. Follow Roboverse to get more in-depth videos like this.
The results came out sounding really nice. In fact, they sound very realistic. I use this audio feature almost daily in my workflow, whether that's for quick drafts or polishing up videos. It eliminates the need to record my own voiceovers and helps me edit much faster. So with all of that being said, let's circle back to the beginning and answer the question once and for all. Is OpenArt actually better, and does it truly make your work more efficient? Or is this just another overhyped tool? Well, after everything I've shown you today and everything I've tested personally, I can say this. OpenArt is a game-changing tool for anyone working with AI content. It's not just another app you play with once and forget about. It actually becomes part of your daily workflow because it saves you time, it gives you faster results, and it makes your work look better. And here's the thing, normally, if you try to do all of this separately, it's a nightmare. You have to generate an image on one site, download it, then upload it to another site to make a video out of it. Then you carry it over to a completely different platform to add audio, then move it again to another tool to upscale, then jump into yet another subscription just to get lip sync or video editing. Multiple apps, logins, and constantly dragging files back and forth. It's complicated, it's messy, and it costs you a fortune, but OpenArt fixes that. Because with OpenArt, everything you've just seen comes together under one subscription that does not rob you every month. Here are its plans. The Essential plan starts at just $14 a month. The Advanced plan is $29 a month, and the Infinite plan is $56 a month. The crazy part about this is that Google's AI Pro plan alone costs $21 a month, and that's just for access to a couple of models. With OpenArt, for roughly the same price, you get access to the same models and more, plus 12,000 credits monthly on the Advanced plan, and much more flexibility than you could ever have with just Google. And that's only if you're using Google. What if you also want Kling, or if you're paying for 11 Labs? Suddenly, you're already paying enough every month to cover OpenArt's Infinite plan, which gives you all the generation you'll ever need. So for me, using OpenArt is a no-brainer. And if you're ready to finally upgrade your AI workflow and get a subscription that doesn't just save you money, but actually makes you work faster, smarter, and better, then click the link down in the description and sign up for OpenArt today using my link. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.